All right, welcome to Your Time, Your Money, where your time is just as valuable as your money. We have a burst session today. We have the overdressed Justin Philippone wearing the three-piece suit. Looks very good. I am in a modest collared shirt. Today we're talking about inflation, Justin, and we're doing a burst session. We've had a lot of conversations in the last few weeks about, people really hurting, their pocketbook hurting, right? Not being able to pay bills, right? Inflation and cost of goods and services are decimating the middle class right now.
Yes.
Right? And I'm not sure if you're experiencing the same phone calls, but I wanted to have you in here because, even us talking about it, right? Going to an event, right? Or signing up for a new subscription. Oh, by the way, the Red Zone and the NFL Sunday Ticket are literally a hot button issue right now. Why? Because they cost an insane amount of money.
Correct.
Right? So, give me some of your feelings and thoughts on what's going on right now with inflation.
Right. So I saw something on Instagram, on Facebook, that said that in order to be able to live the same way...
Ooh, here we go. Lifestyle.
...as your parents would have in the 90s making $80,000.
What's the equivalent?
It was about $240,000. I think it was in California, so obviously not for New York.
Maybe let's do a 20% buffer in New York.
It's going to be a little bit different,
right?
So about $200,000 to that you need to make in order to live to have the same exact lifestyle as your parents did, making $80,000.
That's just an insane stat. But I want to add reference point to that because I saw a similar video where a gentleman back from 2021 ordered stuff on Walmart. Right, he ordered 55 items for $125.
Yes,
on Walmart, right, and he had the opportunity to reorder the items, and he hit reorder in 2024. Do you know what the total cost of that order was in 2024? 2 years later,
I actually saw the same.
Crazy, right? Thing. It's crazy what videos go viral,
and I think it was like upwards of $400,
$450.
Yeah.
For the same items just 2 years later, right? So, this is where we'll talk about the inflationary side and how it's hurting people. But, Justin, I did tell you the stats for the top three things that are dealing with inflation right now.
Yes.
And everyone's hot button word is inflation. Inflation's actually cooling. Core inflation, PCE, is cooling right now, which is great. But there are still things in the economy that are dealing with high levels of inflation. The number one thing is what? What do you think?
You want me to? You gave me ahead of time, so.
But you can get. Before I told you, you can knock it out of the park. But before I told you, what did you think they were?
I honestly thought they were going to be homeowners insurance.
Homeowners, okay.
Because that for myself ballooned drastically,
like doubled.
Obviously, just cost of goods itself,
goods and services,
and then I would say I think maybe airfare because.
So the top three, according to this article, right, which I pulled off of the bank rate article, which was awesome.
Okay.
The number one thing was admission to events, like music events, sporting events, right? And these are these consumer defensive things where, you could go to a AAA baseball game and go watch, the game and buy a hot dog for $30. Now it's like $100.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The second thing was media, like subscriptions. Hulu and Peacock and all these monthly subscription costs have skyrocketed, i.e. the Sunday NFL ticket, right? Which there's a massive lawsuit happening right now because of a monopoly the NFL has. God bless the NFL, right? And then the third thing, which I found interesting, was motor vehicle insurance.
Yes.
Right? So the cost to insure your car, more importantly, the cost to insure your teenager's car, right? The kid in your family that's just starting to think about driving, maybe going to need to get a job as a Uber driver to pay their car insurance, right? So I wanted to point some, the spotlight of awareness to our listeners on how inflation is affecting our everyday lifestyle.
Yeah, it's one of the hot topics. You hear it anytime you turn on any news station, Bloomberg Money, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
They're talking about the cost of goods, services, and things just increasing dramatically in price.
Right.
And obviously we had what the Fed was trying to do in order to curtail some of that or help to prevent some of it was raising interest rates, right? That's one of the things they did.
Make money harder to get.
Right? So your 1.99% car loan is now, I just looked at used car loans, 6.8%, 4% from a credit union.
If you have a good credit rating.
7.5%, upwards of 11% in certain scenarios when individuals don't have a very good credit rating or credit score. And, it's one of those things where it's going to be a process of a continued process of being able to hopefully chip away at some of this inflationary aspect and get it back down to what the Federal Reserve feels are normal levels. But it's definitely taking its toll on clients that we see, like you were talking about, getting
the phone calls, right? Like what bills do I pay?
Individuals that weren't taking distributions from their accounts that are now talking about taking distributions.
Hey, I need 20 grand. I need 10. I gotta get the proverbial monkey off my back. I can't pay my bills.
Yeah, I need more monthly income coming in. Where is it going to come from? How are we going to utilize it? What is it going to entail?
For a non-retiree, it's the side hustles that have paid some of the extra bills. But guess what? As the job market cools, what happens to the side hustles? They go away. There's no more second job, third job. I have enough extra money. Now it's, holy smokes, we're coming up on the end of the summer and, we're looking at, Christmas and Thanksgiving. And it's like, how do I save for those now?
Yeah.
Because the job that I had, the second job I had, is not available.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore. So, there's tips and strategies that I know you work for your clients, but I wanted to point light on the fact that the economy is getting better, but then also getting worse at the same time, right? So what are some of the tips and tricks you're talking about with your clients that are giving them some advantages?
I mean, honestly, I hate to say it, but it's to pre-plan for situations like this, right?
Yeah.
Working with a financial professional, a financial advisor, obviously the individual is here in this room. Matt and I, working over at Iron Tree Financial, we had these conversations with clients 5, 6, 7 years ago to different types of end goals, right? When we talk about planning, we don't just talk about the here and now. We talk about what could happen in the future.
And what are you going to want prepared? Do you want a $10,000 a year vacation bucket? Yep. Do you want a $10,000 medical bucket?
Yep.
Right? But I think preparation is the number one thing.
Yep.
But for people who aren't prepared, that they're now in the thick of it, what would be some of your thoughts and ideas?
I mean, some of the thoughts and ideas would be to, as much as possible, to cut down on spending. Right?
Cut some of the excess spending.
I think one of the biggest things that I could say is do not look at your credit cards as additional income.
Oh, God.
Right? Because that is where I feel like a lot of individuals are getting in trouble.
Right. So I have my normal bills.
Yep.
I have the normal stuff I'm paying, and then all of a sudden, my car breaks down.
Correct.
Now, what do I got to do? I gotta fix my car, and I got to swipe.
Right.
And now,
and we're not here to say that if you need to do that you
it's got to
should,
happen, right? I mean, you got to fix your car. You got to get to work.
It has to happen. What I'm talking about is if you're not in a financial situation to take that trip this year, don't take that trip.
And that's the emotional. That's the emotional versus that logical. Like, man,
save that money. Put stockpile. Try and get a $50-$100 a month and put that away so that next year when you want to go on that vacation,
it's ready.
The money
it's
available.
Prepaid. It's prepaid.
Exactly.
Right.
Don't use it as an additional income because that's where people get into trouble.
Yeah.
And especially with the way that the interest rates within the credit cards ballooned.
Oh my God.
People that were carrying large balances, they were struggling to pay the minimum amount. So they were going out and getting personal loans, the
most profitable
home equity loans.
What's the most profitable companies in the last year has been banks or credit card
Absolutely.
companies, right?
Because they're cashing in on people knowing that they need to pay.
Because now they need to have people need to carry debt. Yeah. So again, this was more of a burst episode to kind of draw attention to, the inflation is being curtailed. But there are still very high inflationary things in our environment, right? Yep. Mortgages are very high still. Credit card, debt is still very high.
Correct.
There are things that are not experiencing as much inflation, and if you are a consumer, try to focus on those things. Try to, get something going on the side where there isn't as much inflation, or if there's deflation, right? Where it makes more sense to spend money because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Right. But when it comes to car insurance, when it comes to travel or events, you might need to look at your total budget and say, hey, this year we can't take that trip.
Yeah. And
it sucks, but it's true.
It's extremely difficult to be able to make that change. So we're we're not going to be here saying that everything is sunshines and rainbows, right? Because we go through similar things with things that we have to
personally, yeah, for sure.
One of the things that my wife and I switched from doing was going out to eat too often.
Yep. Instead of once a week, go once a month.
Exactly.
That's going to save you what? $400, $500?
Huge amounts
right?
that you don't realize that you're doing, right? Bring lunch to work instead of going out with your buddies to go get lunch, right? Maybe go out once a month to go eat with your friends or your buddies at work, but don't do it every single week.
Listen,
right. So it's tough because
those little changes.
It's these little tiny things that you don't necessarily think. It's hard because when we're thinking about doing like a burst session, I mean, there's so much.
But there's a lot there.
We could go for the next half an hour just talking about all this stuff. But obviously, we don't want to take too much of the time. But I would say the three main takeaways for me is don't overspend.
Okay.
Focus on what is most important, and then cut out as much as the non-important things as possible. And number 3 is talk with either a financial professional. Yep. Coinciding with a spouse to get on a budget.
I agree 100%.
Understand where money is going, how much money you have coming in, and how much money goes out on a monthly basis so that you know exactly what you can spend, and then make a budget around that. And obviously working with a financial professional like us over here at Iron Tree Financial is important, right?
Budget awareness, man.
Exactly.
That's the number one thing.
Yep.
We hope you liked our episode. We are driving our subscribership up. We want more subscribers, so
Absolutely.
Please don't forget to share. We love questions. Feel free to email questions in. You can find us at irontreefinancial.com. You can also find us at 43 British American Boulevard, Latham, New York, 12110. We have our client liaison, Matt Byers, ready to pick up your call, 844-444-YTYM. Please send us those questions. We're building a bevy of questions that we're going to answer. We're hopefully going to do a webinar soon. And sooner than later, we are going to get to a live episode. It's going to happen. Absolutely. You got to will it before you want it, baby. And as always, it's your time,
your money.